Hey, what's going on people? It's SGZ here from the SpartanGameZone, and in this video I'll be going over my ultimate Zane build, which excels across the board in survivability and dealing damage, giving you the tools to take on Mayhem 10 however you like. I'll be going over the skill trees and the gear you want to bring your game to the next level. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like, or hey, maybe even subscribe, and let's crack into it. So before we head up the skill trees, let's go over some essential items, namely your artifact and class mod, but also your shield. The artifact is a no-brainer here. We'll be using the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge, which is a DLC 2 artifact that you get from the quest Call of Githian. It increases our damage each hit we get for the first 15 hits, and when we reach that peak we get a massive 90% damage boost. The class mod is also a no-brainer, Seeing Dead, which is what we'll be using, and it allows us to activate our kill skills simply by shooting things, and it makes them more powerful as well. It's exclusive to DLC 1, and good farm targets include Jackbot and Freddy the Trader if you want to get one fast. Ideally you want 5 in Donnybrook with good passives, but I have a few I switch between to ensure all bases are covered, and it really doesn't matter too much. Lastly, for the shield I rock a Sentinel movement speed transformer, but a Cryo Old God with the same anointment will increase your damage. Now for the skill trees, and what we aim to achieve here is maximum diversity, so you can use whatever action skills you like. If you want more survivability, you can have it through the barrier, and if you want more damage output, the clone will give us that. We'll start with the green tree, and we just want to put enough in this to get down here to confident competence and turn our barrier into a dome. Then we'll head over to the orange tree and put 5 in synchronicity, which boosts our damage when our action skills are active. We also boost their duration through 2 in borrowed time, and grab the full mag size bonus of this one. Then we put full 5 points into Donnybrook, which is Zane's best kill skill, and grab Quick Breather, which helps us to heal the clone when he needs it. We also go down and we grab 1 pocket full of grenades, so our clone always has grenades to consume, and we grab Old U so we can sacrifice the clone to get back up if we go down, and we put full points into Supersonic Man, which goes great with Violent Momentum, which we'll get to soon. We also grab Boom Enhanced to majorly buff our clone, and we put 3 into Trick of the Light to give us that extra cryo damage bonus, and lastly we grab Double Barrel, which completely transforms the clone by giving him a copy of our gun, and really that's what we're aiming for here with the clone. Lastly to the blue tree, and it's 5 in Violent Speed and Violent Momentum all day long, making us more powerful the quicker we move. We put 1 in Salvation for all round survivability, 2 in Cool Hand for that added reload speed, and we also grab Drone Delivery so we can actually use our grenades. Of course we grab Death Follows Close to enhance our kill skills, and we max out Violent Violence for that added DPS, and we just put the 2 into Playing Dirty. Finally, we end with 3 in Good Misfortune, which is key for keeping our action skills up, and finish up with Seeing Red. In terms of augments for the barrier, it's easy. We grab All Rounder to turn it into a dome for that added survivability, and we also grab Nanites or some shite for those added bonuses. Then for the clone, it's Bad Dose and Boomsday all day long to increase its damage and ordnance. And for the clone, I typically rock this one, Which One's Real, which helps to get the bonus from Trick of the Light, and I also grab Schadenfreude to keep our shields up, but if you're wanting to use action skill and anointments, Doppelbanger is great for that. And here's a look of how that all comes together. So onto some guns now, which synergize well with this build, and if you want a more in-depth look at these weapons and more, you can check out yesterday's video, but today we'll start with the 2 that make great use of Zane's barrier. They are the Redistributor, which you can only obtain by defeating Wotan in the Melee 1 Takedown, and the other is the Smog, which you can only obtain in the Guardian Takedown by defeating Scourge the Invincible. Both of these guns work extremely well while mobbing. With Zane's barrier, the Redistributor will chain damaging links between enemies, draining their health bars at a rapid rate. It's similar to the Reflux and Brainstormer in that regard, and it does some serious work on the mobbing front. Because of the amount of hits it produces, it'll proc the Pearl with proficiency, and it'll also keep those action skills active, ensuring you're always dealing peak damage. The Smog, on the other hand, is just powerful. That power stems from the capacity of its front-facing shield, and because Zane can protect it with his barrier, we can stay at the height of its damage output indefinitely. It's typically a slow firing gun too, but thanks to Violent Violence, its fire rate gets a massive boost, and so does its DPS. Now onto some weapons that work great in the clone's hand. First up, the Sandhawk, which you can get the fastest by defeating Takedown Jr. You fight around here in Atlas HQ. It deals incredible amounts of damage in the clone's hand, and you don't need to worry about ammo, as he'll never run out. Another good weapon for the clone is the Backburner, which is another gun that deals incredible damage. There's nothing more to it really, it's just powerful. And that's the kind of gun we want to give the clone. Last up is the Lightshow, which is the one I give the clone more often. It's got a larger mag size, which helps while mobbing, and the clone makes great use of it in that situation where he'll treat it like a laser and slice through your opponents at all ranges. It's also good on bosses too, and you'll never go wrong gifting it to your clone. Speaking of bosses, let's go over some weapons that'll help us defeat them, and they're kind of the same ones we give the clone. My number one pick is the Sandhawk, and you'll want that with the Sentinel Cryo Anointment, although Consec hits and URAD will work well too. It doesn't have much total ammo, and you will chew through it fast, but not faster than you'll chew through health bars. To make the most of each shot, you want to be at maximum speed when you're firing, to make use of violent momentum. Do that correctly, and very few bosses will survive a full minute of Zane and the Sandhawk. The next gun for bosses that I'd be looking at using in this build is the Backburner, which you'll get fastest by defeating the Agonizer 9000. You fight at the very end of the Guts of Carnivora. What makes this gun great on Zane is his ability through playing dirty to double its damage output by doubling the projectile count. With that proc, it becomes a monstrous force that'll obliterate any boss, although it struggles against big bosses like the Agonizer 9000 or Greybord due to its damage pattern. We'll end now with a few all-purpose weapons that you can use while mobbing and bossing, and we start with the Flipper, a DLC 3 exclusive weapon that you can obtain by defeating Minosaur, who you fight around here in Blood Sun Canyon. The Flipper is an incredibly powerful SMG that increases its projectile count the longer you hold down the trigger. After 20 or so bullets have been fired, it'll be streaming 9 projectiles downrange instead of the 1, where it'll devour your enemies. With the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge that has a mag size passive, you can ride that wave for longer as the 9 projectiles continue to flow out. It's great on the bossing and mobbing front, and the sheer number of projectiles it produces will keep your action skills up like very few weapons can. Another great all-purpose weapon is the Monarch, which is obtained the fastest from Kilovolt. You fight around here in Electra City. Like the Flipper, it fires an incredible amount of projectiles, coming in ×4 or ×8 variants, with ×4 being the best on Zane, and both will easily maintain that action skill uptime. Its fire rate is also incredibly high, which is amplified even further through Violent Violence. Pulling out the bipod will double its already monstrous damage and have mobs and bosses quickly brought to their knees. Last up is the Lightshow, which is my top pick weapon for Zane. It's another DLC 3 exclusive weapon, and it drops the quickest from Lassodactyl. You fight around here in the Obsidian Forest. The Lightshow is another multiple pellet weapon, firing 4 bullets which spin out of its barrel. Again, these help to keep your action skills up, but they also deal fantastic damage with no recoil whatsoever. Like the Monarch, it can come in every element, including kinetic, and it's certainly worth farming all the flavors. The speed at which it fires coupled with its damage creates an incredibly menacing weapon, and as mentioned before, it's also a great gun to gift your clone. So that about wraps it up for this Zane build. I hope you enjoyed it, and it can make your life in the Borderlands a little easier. If it did, consider dropping a like or subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.